How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to a brand new photography vlog. Today we are at Letchworth State Park for some astrophotography, and this really isn't just any sort of random attempt at an astro shot. This one in particular is special, and the reason is because I tried to get this photo years ago, and I guess I came at the wrong time of the year because, with astro, sometimes you need to wait till very late at night to get to full dark to see the stars as best as you can. And I stayed a little too late past close, and we ended up getting kicked out before we could complete the star trail shot. As you know, these types of shoots take a long time because we're going to be taking 200 plus 30-second exposures. So that adds up to over an hour 40 minutes, plus you got to wait for full dark, etc., etc. And to basically describe what the photo looks like, I'll put this photo up here. I took this a couple years back, 2018, 2019. It wasn't an astro shot. It was actually taken an hour or so before sunrise, and I ended up getting trailing stars. And when I took this, I was like, you know what? This would look great as an actual astro shot with a huge star wheel over this plateau, as viewed from Archery Overlook or Humphreys Overlook, which is where I'm at currently. And I'm taking some long exposure blue hour shots as we're not really in blue hour anymore. We're more like astronomical twilight, probably full dark now. But I'm just trying to get some low ISO, long exposures. I think I have one going right now. That should be for about 10 minutes, so another about 3.5 minutes on that, and then I'm going to go stop it. But I'm super excited. This is like redemption, if you will. And this particular photo, the way I envision it in my head, I think it's going to look super nice. Just by looking at the blue hour shots off the back of the camera, they look very nice. And, now it's just a waiting game for the stars. And I think it's a unique photo, too. When you think astrophotography here at Letchworth, you usually see a lot of photos of the Milky Way over the upper falls. We did that earlier this year. It was a lot of fun. It's a great photo, one I'd like to redo. But I've never seen, in all my years on Instagram, following the Letchworth hashtag, I've never seen a photo of star trails over this plateau here, and I think it is an opportunity well worth seizing. So that is what we're after today, getting a unique photo, and again, redemption for a photo that was completely ruined several years back. It is really cold. It's like mid-November, and it is currently 5:56. It feels like it should be like 10 o'clock at night. 41 degrees here on November 12th, and it is cold. But luckily, my car is parked just a little bit over there, so I can, chill out in there, watch some Netflix while all 200 plus 30-second exposures fire off. That should be enough to give us a nice prolonged star wheel over this beautiful plateau. Now, I was here last night as well, trying to do the Northern Lights, and that was a complete bust. We'll talk more about that in a moment. So as you can see, it is almost 6:30, and 6:29 is the exact point where it turns to nighttime, no longer an astronomical twilight, so it is dark as it's gonna get, basically, is what that means. And I've started the star trails, set the camera to continuous shutter, and use my shutter release cable just to lock the shutter in place. And I waited a little bit. I didn't just walk away after the first shutter, or I pressed it right, because you want to make sure it takes another photo after you walk away. So I did that. It worked, and every 10 minutes or so, I'm gonna walk maybe whatever it is, like 100 feet to where my camera is, check it, make sure it's still going, and yeah, that's pretty much what the game plan is gonna be. We're gonna do 200 30-second exposures, which ends up being 100 total minutes, which is an hour and 40 minutes. So once that is all done, we're gonna check and see what the photos look like. I took a few sample 30-second exposures prior to starting to see how the stars themselves looked, and chose an ISO setting, and ended up going for 2000 ISO at f9 with a 30-second exposure, and I think it looks pretty good. Did some long exposures before with the blue hour. I tried to do a really long one, but I left my lens cap on, admittedly so. And after that, I was like, you know what, screw it, let's just start doing the star trails. Because I don't want to be here super late. And that is the one bonus side of doing astro at this time of the year, at least where I live. as it gets darker a lot earlier, which means you wrap up a lot earlier. It's not like the Kinzu Point Star Trail thing we did back earlier in the year where we were leaving at like 11, 12 o'clock, driving home at like 1, 2 a.m., right? So it's definitely a lot easier this time of year to do this stuff. You're not making super long drives super late at night and sometimes even early into the morning. But yeah, wanted to talk to you guys about the Northern Lights shenanigans that happened last night. So I use an app called Aurora. I'm sure most people who watch for the Northern Lights will have heard of that app or have used it in some capacity. And it was calling for really high kinetic potential at 6.33 on a scale of 1 to 10, which is pretty high, at least for where I live here in western New York. That's pretty high. Something you still can't see with the naked eye, but you can definitely photograph it like I've done in the past. Completely unknowingly at the time, but it's something that is occurring more often as we approach what I believe is called a solar maximum. So that's something that's going to be happening more often over the next couple years. And that's really cool because it gives us a unique opportunity that we wouldn't be able to do in this part of the world. And there was a lot of hype going around, people saying that you'd be able to photograph it, and I showed up and checking the app, and it was saying there was like no activity. I wasn't the only one experiencing that. So I drove all the way out here yesterday night, stayed for about an hour or so, and just got absolutely nothing. Although I haven't looked at those photos on my computer yet, so maybe I got something, but I'm not super hopeful. And yeah, so like I said, I'm going to wait probably 10-15 minutes, go check on my camera, see what the battery is at, see if it's still taking photos, because if it stops at any point, that's obviously going to be a problem. So I want to make sure I check on it during regular intervals, if that makes any sense. So I'm going to hang out here in the car, nice and warm, and just kind of hang out. Honestly, this is the more boring side of astrophotography, at least for doing star trails, right? You're just kind of waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting. But I don't mind it so much, so yeah. Got the whole place to myself here, super awesome, and I'll update you guys in a little bit. Just wrapped up shooting all 200 and some odd photos. I went a little over the hour 40 mark because I actually messed up my timer, so I wanted to make sure I had at least 200 photos to work with. And I just checked the photos, they all look great, checked the lens, especially to make sure that didn't fog up, and luckily it did not. I was kind of worried it might because I never put a towel around the lens. I should have done that first before I started taking our blue hour exposures. I was going to try afterwards, but I didn't want to risk moving the camera a single inch. So just check the photos. Everything looks great. It's only gotten colder out here. It's 31 degrees Fahrenheit right now. Not sure what the temperature was when we first got here, but I'm very happy with how everything looks. I thought about maybe doing another photo with the camera pointing down this road actually that we're on here, and have the trees as a nice silhouette, and then some star trails above that, but I might save that for another day, although it is pretty tempting just to sit here for another hour per se and just see if I can get something out of it. I might need to light paint the trees, but I'm pretty sure I would be able to use the headlights of the car to be able to do that, turn the high beams on for a couple exposures, and then again just sit and wait for a little bit longer. I also got to show you guys this this filming technique that I have right here. So yeah, as you guys can see, there you are, and I have my headlamp with an oak leaf sitting over top of it, so it actually isn't super bright, and it has a nice warm look to it, because it is anything but warm out here, so I'll take it. But I'm very excited. Like I said, this has been years in the making, and I think redemption has definitely been achieved, I guess. But I'm gonna look into this other shot real quick, and we'll see how it looks off the back of the camera. But if it's not super feasible tonight, again, we can just come back some other night on a clear night. Although, like I said, it's tempting just to stay here and do it because I've been waiting and waiting recently for a clear night, and we finally got one. So who knows when the next time we'll get a clear sky will be. But yeah, that's that. just about done with that second angle. I'll show you guys really quickly the sort of, I guess, base photo for the foreground. Ended up just turning the car lights on because I'm parked right off the side of the park road here. And I did some with the high beams on, some with them off. I think the high beams actually were a little too aggressive, so I just used the standard headlights. I also walked out into the shot with the headlamp that I have on and kind of just looked up at the tree, see if I could get something cool out there, you know, use myself for scale. Never really do that kind of stuff too often, so I wanted to experiment with a little bit. But yeah, kind of a B angle. I like to get a B angle anytime I go somewhere. I don't like putting all my eggs in one basket. Sometimes that ends up happening, but you know, whenever I get the opportunity, I like to mix things up a little bit. And again, who knows when we'll get the next crystal clear night. So I just like the way this angle looked, so I figured I'd shoot it. Pretty much same exact way we did the other spot, 30-second exposures, ISO 2000. Went down ISO 1000 for the shots with the light painting, so it wouldn't be super overexposed since these lights are very, very bright. But yeah, I'm going to pack up now and get out of here. The temperature has also dropped about 11 degrees since we've got here, so it's definitely a lot chillier now than it was when we first got here. And yeah, definitely can't wait to get home and get something to eat. All right, everybody, welcome back to the studio. It is finally time to show you guys the final results of the two photos we took at Letchworth State Park the other night. I'm extremely happy with how these images came out, so I can't wait to share them with you guys. I also want to show you guys the before and after in the editing process, how I was able to get the photos looking the way that they do. And specifically showing you just how many satellite lines and airplane lines I had to clone out in both of these images. I spent hours and hours of time doing that. I nearly lost my mind, but I'll tell you what, it was worth the hours spent, as the final results were exactly what I was looking for. And it's got me hooked on doing astrophotography again. I cannot wait for the next clear sky night that we get so I can go back there and get some star trails over other various spots in the park. I've got a few ideas, and maybe there'll be another vlog for when we go ahead and do those specific things. So with that being said, let's hop into Photoshop really quickly here and take a look at the first image, which was our main angle at Humphreys Overlook. And I've actually titled this photo Under the Veil of Night. It is available for sale on my website. Link that down in the description if you're interested in purchasing a print, canvas, acrylic, whatever it may be. But let's take a look at the before and after here. So this is before we did any edits. This right here is what the photo looked like when we just took all 195 stars. Thought I got 200. I still somehow can't get 200 just right. Next time, what I need to do is make sure when I think I have 200, I wait another 10 minutes and get, you know, a little bit extra. Because when you have 200 photos, it's a little easier to work out the descending opacity of the star trail, so you can get them to fade, so they look like falling stars instead of just like straight lines. So this is what it looked like. As you can see here, there are just tons and tons of hot pixels and satellite trails, and I had come to the conclusion that there had to have been like an airport off towards the southeast there, and there actually is in a nearby town called Dansville, which explains the amount of activity we were getting. Like, there's just so many. Like, I've done a lot of these photos in the past, and I've never had to deal with this many lines in the sky. So I'll put a little time lapse up here, even if I bother, because it's like 6 hours of me just editing out all of these lines and making sure I'm doing a good enough job in the process, so you know it looks good as a final result. Because I'm going to spend all that time, I might as well do a good job. So after we cleaned everything up, this is what the final result was, and I definitely did a second object removal pass later. But yeah, see, without cleaning, with cleaning, it already looks a lot better. Then I blended in our blue hour, which is a own separate folder here. And as you can see, there's all of that. And then just combined everything together into one blended result. Did a highlights layer here, which I have to turn all this stuff on. So this was just a very selective highlights mask, just trying to select the stars in the sky and to bring those values up. Then for the blue channel, this was mainly to darken the top of the sky, right? Because as you look higher up in the sky, it's going to get darker and darker. So I wanted to emphasize that gradient. Brought up the foreground gamma a little bit. Didn't do it enough apparently, so I ended up going back and doing it again. Did some noise reduction in the sky, some sharpening in the foreground, more object removal, which mainly this was just more hot pixels, I think, exclusively in the foreground, which there was quite a bit of them. And then did in a camera raw filter foreground adjustment just to bring those values up a little bit, especially for printing as well. I don't want it to be super dark. And then just the old signature. So after everything was said and done, we were able to take the photo from this to this. And I think that is definitely a night and day difference. And if you guys want to see how I edited photos like these, or how I edit photos like these in general for star trails, I would be very happy with making an in-depth start to finish workflow video for these types of photos. So if you're interested in that, please let me know down in the comment section below. But let's take a look at the second image. Okay, so the second image was when we were facing down the park road, trying to get more star trails over the silhouetted tree line. I thought that would look nice on top of the road, acting as a great leading line. That's when we also used the headlights of the car to light paint some of the trees so they wouldn't be completely pitch black. And we ended up taking 110 photos of the stars, which was long enough to get some nice trails, and we were able to fade them accordingly. The first 10 I left at 100% opacity, and then from there went 99, 98, 97, so on and so forth, all the way down to 1% opacity. So the star trails were nice and faded and makes them look more like falling stars, which is something I really love doing. So this is all 110 of those stacked together, and we got really lucky with this orange light down here at the bottom. I believe this was a result of the car lights, the like the fog lights or whatever they're called, the orange lights flashed briefly during one of the last exposures when I got out of the car, and it left this really nice warm glow. I did not account for this whatsoever, but it ended up working out fantastically. Next time I'll have to use our little oak leaf over the headlamp to maybe light paint the foreground that nice soft orange color, because I don't think we'll get lucky with this again, especially if we're not near the car. You know, we might not have that option, so we'll have to kind of recreate it however we can. So yeah, 110 photos stacked together. This was the result, just in the light and blending mode. As you can see, much like the first photo, we have a ton of miscellaneous objects. Like, I don't even know what that is. Like, I literally have no idea what that little lone thing could be. Satellites, airplanes, UFOs, who knows what they are. So we had a lot of those, and we had to clean them up. Just had to do a quick little bit of organization here. So there's our folder with our star stack and the cleanup, and then we merged everything together into a single layer to get where we are here. And then from here, I blended in one of the exposures with the light painting on the trees. This here is only at 50% opacity, because if we turn it up to 100%, I think it's a little too intense. So I liked leaving it at around 50% to make it look a little bit more realistic. And the photo with me standing in the frame, I just didn't really like the way it looked. So I ended up just not bothering with it. Maybe it'll be something that I save for a future photo. And then here, another very selective highlight mask here, just boosting up those values in the stars, and even did a mask there to keep it out of the foreground. Blue channel, again, this was to darken that top part of the sky, and some midtones contrast, I believe. Yeah, some global midtones contrast there. And then from there, we ended up doing even more object removal, which I ended up getting rid of this sort of like post there on the ground, and there was something in these trees over here. I have no idea what that was. It was just really bright and shiny and distracting, so I ended up getting rid of it. And when I zoomed in there, you can probably see there was a ton of noise. So I ended up doing a noise reduction layer over top of it, and some pretty aggressive noise reduction as a result. because again, this was like a pitch black shot. And that's another reason why I wanted to blend in some of the light painting, because when the light is introduced, right, there's a lot less noise just because it's a brighter photo, right, instead of just shooting into pitch black. And then from there, I ended up doing a global high pass filter, because I don't mind sharpening the star trails, even more object removal, which I think this was an attempt, as you can see, getting rid of some hot pixels there. There's still a decent amount left, which I didn't really bother with getting rid of a lot of them just because it would take forever. Like, I mean, there are so many. Like, yeah, I maybe in the future I'll go back and try to get rid of more of those. Then here I added some contrast in the sky because I just wanted to look a little bit more punchy. So I did that, just quickly masked it in. And something else I experimented with was a little bit of like a classical soft focus filter from Color Efex Pro. I'm not sure if I like what it's doing, or if I want to like just keep it like in the sky maybe, or if I just copy this mask here and paste it over that. Kind of gives like an ethereal glow to the stars, but now that I'm kind of toggling on and off, I'm not really a huge fan of that. But yeah, and there is a signature. So this photo I do like quite a bit just because it's a star wheel, and this is something I've been wanting to get for years, you know, facing north and get that bullseye effect. And we finally got it with like a sort of makeshift photo there at the end of what was going to be our normal photo shoot, getting that photo from Humphrey's Overlook. So definitely a very, very nice bonus to come away from that shoot. I do want to try this again in some different locations and get that blue hour foreground. And with just how noisy our foreground is, you can see even after noise reduction and after hot pixel cleanup, right, there's still a decent amount of noise, but I think it's an acceptable point. If anything, I might do another cleanup layer and focus on where these leaves are here, right? Like there's something there, some things there and there, and even into this dark part of the photo, and get rid of some more stuff. But, you know, that's why we shoot blue hour foregrounds, because they have way less noise as a result and give us a cleaner photo like we saw on that first image. So yeah, this is that photo. I definitely like the first one a little bit better, but I still really, really like this one. I've also put it up on my website as well, if anybody's interested in supporting and picking up a print for themselves as well. I'll try to be doing a Black Friday sale if I can. I should be able to, like 10-50% off the entire store. So definitely check that out. And yeah, that's going to do it. I hope you guys learned something. And like I said earlier, if you want to see the entire workflow start to finish, where I'll literally just edit the entire photo alongside you guys as you watch. So definitely let me know if that's something that interests you in the comment section below. And as always, thank you guys so much for joining me on this journey, and we'll see you next time.